all the called
or
I was playing a lot of music in college and studying psychology, and I found a professor who was combining those two things. And it was really interesting to learn about the sort of underlying mechanisms, like how do we process sound as it enters our ears and passes through the cochlea and through the auditory nerve and into our primary auditory cortex. And so I learned all of that sort of technical detail about stuff and a bunch of other cool stuff about like auditory illusions, like the way sound works and how you can manipulate that to make things like an infinite ascending sequence that doesn't sound like it's looping back around. It actually continues to go up, like that M.C. Escher drawing of a staircase going in a square that's always going up. Yeah, we're just at the beginning of understanding how the brain is responding, like in these different situations, improvisation and playing composed music. And there are these functional neuroimaging studies, so these studies that like show you what parts of the brain are lighting up at different times. But it's really coarse right now. We can see like roughly what regions are firing, but to understand that stuff deeply, we're going to have to understand it more from the bottom up than the top down. So looking at how information is passed around in even individual neurons, or maybe in biochemistry, or in ensembles of millions of neurons all together. We don't really know what the right level of analysis is yet, even. We do know that the brain kind of wires itself using input from the world. That if you don't get visual stimulation during a critical period of development, your visual cortex just doesn't wire itself up the correct way. And so it's not just specified by your genes, it's the interaction with the environment that allows the brain to sort of build itself.
Yeah. And that's particularly interesting to me because I have this idea about how we all sort of improvise our own realities.
Yeah, man.
And
yeah, man. We're the worlds that we live in are constructed from our perception, and perception is a very active, top-down kind of process. Like what you're seeing feels like it's all around you, way out to the edges, but actually like what your eyes are sensing is just a tiny fraction of that information, and your brain is kind of filling in all the details. So we're always sort of assembling a mental model of the world all the time, and that's based on what you think is happening, your mental model. It's a construction.
And where do you get that? Where does that information come from?
Oh, the model?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just what we make up. We think of things like visual illusions or auditory illusions as showing us the kind of breaks in our perception where it stops working. But the fact is, those mechanisms that make those illusions happen, like we see a color that's not there or a shape that's not there, they work because those things are happening all the time. We're always filling in, we're always reconstructing, we're always inventing what we imagine to be out there in the world.